going pantless to receive her OBE, thrusting punk fashion into the mainstream, and championing the notion of environmentally conscious fashion are just a few highlights from Dame Vivienne Westwood's career. Westwood now runs an eponymous multi-million-dollar fashion company. However, she had to start designing punk clothes in the basement of her boyfriend, Malcolm McLaren. Westwood has spent her entire career setting and influencing trends along with fighting to make the world a better place. If anyone deserves to be cool, it's Westwood. Cool is a part of our everyday language. But what does it really mean to be cool? The origins of cool are found in 1940s jazz, when saxophonist Lester Young first coined it to refer to a state of relaxed intensity. Young personified cool by wearing shades on stage as a mark of ironic detachment and individuality. From Young evolved what cool is known as today. Now when someone is described as cool, it is meant they are a leader and a rebel. Therefore, in order for someone to be cool, they set trends rather than follow and exude bravery in the face of conformity and authority. Westwood epitomizes these qualities. She's a fashion leader and brought punkology into the mainstream, and she also rebels against establishment and unethical production. It's for these reasons why Westwood is undeniably cool. Westwood has been instrumental in bringing both punk fashion and ideology into the mainstream. Today punk fashion is easily identifiable, but in the 1970s punk fashion didn't exist. Punk is a trash culture gone avant-garde, and at the heart of that trash culture was Westwood's store Sex. She ran the shop with her boyfriend McLaren, where they produced t-shirts with provocative messages that were later persecuted under obscenities laws. They also transformed straps and zips of obscure sexual fetishism into fashion and inadvertently inspiring the DIY aesthetic, which the media called punk rock at the time. The sort of clothing sold at Sex became the uniform of the punk movement. This idea was further perpetuated by Sex Pistols wearing these clothes as well. Westwood tapped into a youthful reaction to older generations' beliefs, considering them oppressive and outdated, and perfectly commodified that feeling. Sex obviously resonated with young punks that later became a punk mecca. The influence that Westwood had on punk style has had a lasting effect on how clothes are cut and inspiring the ever-politicized nature of fashion. Not only did Westwood welcome punk fashion to popular culture, but also the ideology. The punk subculture originated out of working-class angst and the frustrations many youths felt about economic inequality and the bourgeoisie hypocrisy and neglect of working people and their struggles. In the early 1970s, the socio-economics of New York City were no better than London's, and saw local rock groups reinventing music and style to protest. Westwood and McLaren took that radical New York punk aesthetic to London to open Sex and manage the Sex Pistols. Sex perfectly embodied the punk movement aesthetic, and the music of the Sex Pistols captured that punk feeling. These two things, coupled with the movement now having a concrete location, really helped push punks into the limelight. Modern fashion and ideology have been greatly affected by Westwood. Westwood has influenced everything from the way that clothes are cut to the purpose of fashion. Punk fashion is political in nature, but clothing that used to be overtly political. Now this idea of the politicization of fashion can be seen on the Louis Vuitton runway. Not only was she a fashion leader, but also helped spread punk dogma into the normal. It's because of the profound influence that Westwood has had on us all that she is cool. Westwood very much lives life to the beat of her own drum, making her an iconic rebel. Westwood is probably best known for championing the push to marry sustainable fashion and high fashion, but she's also steadfastly anti-establishment. For instance, when opening Sex, she wanted to undermine the establishment and show that we didn't accept the values of the older generation. She most famously did this through her use of the swastika symbol in her early designs to signal a rejection of ideals of older World War II era generations. She built on this idea in the 80s and 90s, which began parodying the upper class through her take on 18th century courtesy and using designs inspired by the royal family. Along with expressing her anti-establishment through style, Westwood adamantly protested the government. For example, her impersonation of the Prime Minister on the cover of Tauta. Westwood's core focus when opening Sex was to undermine the establishment, something she did with every available opportunity through both her fashion and actions. She has rebelled against convention and conformity her entire life. Westwood has also been very vocal for a push for more sustainable and ethical clothing. Just last year, Nike and Adidas were accused of funneling Uyghurs, a persecuted ethnic minority from China, into factories that strongly suggested forced labor. It is reported that more than 80,000 new guys were transferred to work in factories across China between 2017 and 2019. On the other hand, Westwood and the UN's International Trade Center Ethical Fashion Initiative are celebrating 10 successful seasons of partnership. Since partnering in 2010, the collaboration has seen 15,000 artisans across 21 marginalized African communities work on the collection of bags. In the last 5 years alone, more than 950 children have been sent to school as a result of the orders and the project has provided and encompassed some of the poorest people in the world, all while supporting fair labor practices, taking people out of poverty and proving you can make a profit in a socially sustainable way. It would have been both easier and more profitable for Westwood to follow the trend of just juicing as much money as possible from her brand. Instead, she stood strong with her morals to rebel against the corruption that infects the top of the fashion industry. She was more focused on making ethical clothing rather than profitable clothing. Westwood has lived her life, unabashed to call out what she found wrong with humanity. She has been unafraid to point out the arbitrary nature of class and to proclaim her distaste for the dirty underbelly of the world of high fashion. She persisted with her message where others changed their minds or became disheartened. Without a doubt, Westwood has exuded bravery in the face of conformity and authority, and is therefore both a rebel and cool. Westwood has cemented herself as a timeless character in human history and is unquestionably cool. It's through her influence and unwavering battle for what she believed in to be right that she has earned the title of cool. As a civilization, we are in desperate need for more rebels like Westwood, who unapologetically campaign for what they believe to be right. Westwood lived her professional life not concerned with what would make her the most money, she was more interested in trying to make a difference, this being the coolest thing she did.